This is a big one. Big one meaning this is something that drives relationships to sometimes the deepest level they've ever been, sometimes stalls them and keeps them from getting past kind of an oops or an offense or something like that. And what is that? It's an apology. And what is a good apology? What are the elements of a good apology? When does an apology work well and when does it not work well? And so let's start with this thought. An apology is one of the best tools possible that we have in life. Why? Well, think about it this way. If you didn't have a digestive tract or an immune system, okay, what do those two things do? Your immune system is able to take care of infection that comes into your body. And what does it do? It goes and it cleans it out. It immunizes you against getting sicker than maybe you would have gotten at certain levels, or even stopping something going bad at all. We need an immune system because bacteria happens. In relationships, bacteria happens. People get their feelings hurt, or there's betrayals or whatever. The second thing you need in life is you need a digestive tract. Why? Because just like we ingest food, what do you do when you eat food? Well, you have to metabolize it and take the good parts of it, but then you've got to eliminate the waste. You don't be carrying the bad stuff around all the time. And especially if you noticed about the way God designed your body, you're supposed to leave the waste behind you and move on. You don't want to be walking backwards into the waste that you've already experienced. And if we can't apologize and get things in a good place, we're going to be stepping in it for a while. So apologies have everything to do with those two functions, metabolizing the bad stuff in life. So let's get to it. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Fine, I'm sorry. How did that feel? There's a way to say I'm sorry that's helpful. Well, that's not one of them, the way I just gave, nor is this one. I'm so sorry. I'm such an idiot. I'm so bad. I should, yeah. Many times when people say I'm sorry, the focus is all about them. I'm so bad. I can't believe, and it's all about the guilt and trying to get out of the guilt. That's not what brings another person towards you. What brings another person towards you in an apology is an orientation to them. See, an apology is about what I did that hurt you. That's important. And so that changes it from the whole arena of how bad I am or how guilty I feel, just looking for forgiveness. So why? So I will feel better. Now, certainly forgiveness does that for us. But that's not why we're there. Why we're there is to repair the relationship. And so what somebody's got to feel is true sorrow. And that sorrow, one of my favorite verses says there's a sorrow of the world, which is how we're born. It has to do with guilt and shame and all that. There's a sorrow, it says, that leads to death. Or there's what the Bible says is a godly sorrow that leads to actual repentance, which is change and a better future. So what do we need to see? Well, in the I'm sorry, we need to feel some, not guilt and badness so much as I am so sorry about how I hurt you. I regret that this happened because of the pain it caused you. And they've got to feel in your sorrow that there's actually care for them, that what I'm really sorry about is what it did to you and how you feel and how it affected you. So that's where you begin, okay? Begin with empathy, sorrow and regret for the hurt or damage that the incident has caused. And one of the big elements in this is show them that you really understand the pain that has caused them. That requires some empathy. And along with that, not just the pain, here's another couple of things you want to include in there. Be specific about the results, the consequences that you see. Gosh, I know this really hurt you, and I can see it just screwed up your whole schedule. You lost all this time because I didn't get my job done, and I'm sorry that not only it was frustrating, but it really screwed up your life in some way. Now, the bigger the offense, obviously, the bigger parts of life it screws up. You can say, I see it's wounded your ability to trust me. It's wounded your ability to think that love can be good. It's wounded, whatever the consequences are, what it did to them that you truly regret and are sorry for. So now we've got the empathy about the feelings. Empathy has a lot to do with hearing and seeing their feelings. I'm sorry the pain it's caused you. Sorry the frustration it's caused you. I'm sorry that it wounded you. But also, I'm sorry about the consequences that it's caused you. So the care and the empathy is everything that opens up the heart. And forget the right or wrong. And we're not in court here. Okay. We're not trying to testify. And sometimes when people will tell somebody, when you did this, it hurt me. Well, that's because, and they start to, I said to a guy the other day, I said, dude, we're not in court. You don't need to give the evidence that's going to get you off the hook here. There's no judge here. What we're talking about is what happened, in the relationship. And a lot of times we miss because of right or wrong, we miss the next big element. After sorrow, regret, empathy, and all that, the next big element is ownership. Own it. Okay. Let them see that you know what you did and you take responsibility for it. Don't excuse it or minimize it. Talk about your good motives that should make it all go, well, I didn't mean to. The reason that doesn't touch the hurt. Don't blame it on something else. Take responsibility for, I didn't come through for you here and I failed you. And it doesn't matter why and all that. I'm sorry what I did caused you this pain. Sometimes we forget that, we sort of judge ourselves by our intentions. Well, I didn't mean to, but other people judge us according to the behavior or the consequences for them. Now, if you forget right or wrong and you're not trying to justify something, you're just trying to empathize, then you don't have to go into all that. Now, there is a place after what I'm talking about here where you go into where they really understand. You can say, I hope also it wasn't my intent to hurt you. I can see how it did, and I understand that now. And sometimes there's other explanations, and sometimes that really does help. But a lot of times people jump right to all the explanations and the blame and the excuses, and that just gets in the way of somebody feeling like we owned it. And you can say, yeah, I did this or I did that, and I can see it hurt you. And who needs the narrative? There's, excuses aren't going to hurt. I'm just sorry. I'm sorry this hurt you. Then here's the next component. So we've got the empathy and the sorrow, the care and the regret. Number one. Number two, we got the clear ownership. I'm sorry I did this, or I'm sorry what I did hurt you. That's a phrase that I should unpack. Sometimes we're not sorry we did something, but it did hurt someone. Okay. I remember one time we had some friends, and I invited a group of friends to do something with us, and it was great. And then the next time we did that, there were a few other people I wanted to invite to the next thing we did, which was similar to the first one. And somebody in the first group I didn't invite. It's my prerogative on the group I want to put together. And he was enraged, and I can't believe you did this. Why weren't we invited? And it was so much entitlement. I didn't do anything wrong. Okay. But it was hurtful to him. And those are the situations sometimes where it's really difficult because what we got to do is, and I remember I said something like, yeah, and this is the ownership piece. No, I didn't invite you because it was a different group I wanted to put together. I got to spend a great time with you last time. I wanted to see some other people. Yeah, I can own that. I didn't invite you, and I didn't. I am sorry that it was hurtful to you, and I can see that. And it's a tricky line sometimes because sometimes we get offended that somebody's offended wrongly, and we're getting accused of something. We didn't do anything wrong, so it gets it hard to apologize, but you can empathize. Yeah, no, I did do that, and you're right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It was hurtful. I might do it again. Don't invite everybody to everything every time, but I am sorry it hurts you. I wouldn't want to hurt you. So sometimes it does get into a little tricky line there because you didn't commit a crime, but somebody's acting like you did. And then the third component, before we hop in a call or two here with the time we've got, um, let's focus on the future. Once you've gotten through the empathy and the care and the ownership and all of that, what's really, really helpful sometimes is ask them, so how can I make it up to you? How can I make this better? And I'll work on this or this or this in some way so this doesn't happen again. Because I really want to make it right between us. How can I make amends? How can I? And the very fact that you're interested in two things there in point three is one is how can I undo the damage? What are the punitive damages here? How can I make that better? I really want to make it better for what I did. Secondly, how can we make sure, what do I need to do to make sure this doesn't happen again? Now, sometimes they're going to give demands you're not willing to do. If my friend said, well, you got to invite me to everything you ever do, I go, well, that's not going to happen. I promise. So what can we do? Maybe one of the things we can do is kind of talk about our relationship a little bit and understand how that works, or more technical things if it has to do with maybe somebody's expecting you to do, maybe, let's make sure, next time that I really clearly want to get the expectations, or I want to do it this way so it doesn't make you late, or whatever it is. But just some orientation to how can we make sure this doesn't happen again? Because I certainly don't want to hurt you. So people want to see your heart. They want to see your care. They want to see your empathy. They don't want to hear blame and excuses or minimizing. That sets them up for expecting more hurt and minimalization later. And to do this, we kind of have to prepare. Have we truly seen it from their side? We're so consumed sometimes with feeling bad or how it's screwed up. Have we really seen it from their side? Have we owned it within ourselves? Have we looked at the real consequences, seen how real those are for them? What it would be like to experience that? And what you might want to do before you get into this, script it and read it. Some situations you might even want to role play because it can get heated. So remind yourself not to react, and remind yourself of why you are there to begin with. And it's to, as best we can, to repair the breach. Okay, that's an apology. Some good things for us all to think about. I could do well to review that one sometimes. I hate getting accused. I hate getting accused of stuff I didn't even know I was doing something that hurt you. It's hard to sit in there with that sometimes, but we can get better at it.